Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now, if you follow my channel, you know this is a rarely seen part of the craft room. The lighting's poor, it's not going to provide a great image, but today's an exciting day. I'm upgrading from an 8.3-inch wide DTF printer to a 13-inch wide DTF printer. And at the last minute, I decided to go ahead and document how to set this machine up and get it running. So if you're interested in that, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Now the DTF printer that I received from Procolored showed up in this huge crate. It was going to be way too heavy for me to carry upstairs, so I went ahead and opened it downstairs so that I could carry each piece up individually. Inside was the curing oven, the film, the printer, and a lot of miscellaneous things. After getting it out of the crate and removing the plastic wrap, this is what the printer looked like when I received it. I also received a box of things that I'm going to use to put the printer together. It looks like a lot, but I've looked through it. It looks pretty easy. I'm also going to need some scissors and a Phillips head screwdriver. Then over here I have the film, my computer, the curing oven, and then I think you can see it, I have the ink over here. Before we get started, I want to highlight one thing in the instructions. It tells you not to fill the ink before the software is installed and the machine's fully diagnosed, which just means make sure the machine works before you put all the ink in it. Which is a little bit inconsistent with inside the manual that talks about getting it set up, putting the ink in, and then it shows how to install this software. This one came with a film roller, and so the first thing I will do is I'll go ahead and install what you need for that film roller. We have the brackets, we have the ends, and we have the roller bar itself. I think that's all that I'll need. Now here's where I'm going to need this Phillips head screwdriver though. First of all, let's go ahead and get these brackets out. They do have a certain way that they have to go, but that's pretty evident when you take them out of the packaging. Hopefully you can see there's 2 screws on this side and 2 screws over there. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and take these screws out. We're going to put the brackets where these screws are, and then we'll use the screws to tighten down the bracket. Here's one of the brackets, and you see these little rolling things? That's going to have to go to the inside. And so you have 2 holes here. Those are going to cover over the holes where those screws were. This back piece rests off the back side of the printer. Also, there's a little bit of what I would call slop in those. So you're going to tighten them, but not all the way down. Once you know if your roller fits in there correctly, then you can go ahead and tighten them down the rest of the way. If the roller doesn't fit in there, you can slightly move your bracket in or out to make it fit. So again, I'm not going to tighten that down super tight. I want to be able to adjust it if needed. Once I know that it's in the right place, then I'll tighten it down more. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Now here's the bar that goes on top. There's nothing fancy about it. We're going to slide it down in between the 2 brackets and make sure it rolls nicely. It does. Now we need to put the film on. So here's the film, and you can see this arrow. That's going to go to the front exactly like I have it, and it'll face down. Now you have two end caps, and they go with this part to the center. And basically what you're doing is you're going to fit this little, I don't know what this is called, but you're going to fit that inside the end of your paper or your film. So your film has this cardboard core inside. That's going to fit inside there. This end is going to go over the rod that we just put in there. Then it should fit snugly down inside this cardboard core. Now there are some set screws on the top there. So I'm probably going to have to loosen that to allow this to go far enough onto this metal rod to work. So right now, it's too big. It doesn't fit inside there. And so I am going to have to loosen one of those set screws. Well, let's see if I loosened it enough to be able to slide that in. Okay, I did. Now let's make sure this side's coming out. And we have this side to go in. I feel like there should be about equal amounts of this side of the little post coming out and this side. Right now it's way over here. So I'm going to loosen up both of these set screws. Then I should be able to move this rod over, which I can. Now there's about the same amount sticking out on both sides. So we're going to tighten those back down. Now remember I talked about a little bit of slop in the slots where the screws go? I want to move my brackets in just a little bit. I feel like they're a little bit too loose. I think I can get away with just moving the one on this side. So I'll shove it over some. And then just tighten those back down. All right, that feels much better. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. Here's the power cord. So here's where you plug it in on the back side. It just goes right there. Now I need to plug the other end either to the wall or a heavy-duty power cord. Now there's two power sources on this printer. One's here on the back. Since I've plugged it in now, I'll go ahead and turn that on. Now inside you have a strip here that you have to cut off. That just protected it during shipping. And then there's one more little tag in here. Now that I've removed those, I can go ahead and turn on this power button, and I hold it down, I believe, for 3 seconds. All right, the printer head appears to be moving. Everything looks okay. Another thing that we need to do is we need to put on this little paper holder. So that holds your paper fairly even or fairly flat. And then it also has this cutter on it. So let me go ahead and take the tape off this cutter. That slices off your film once you've printed your image. Now on the printer, you have these two little holes in this front metal panel, and these are going to slide down into those metal holes, or the holes in the metal. That feels secure. So here's how you'd cut your film. Now let's go ahead and see if we can't get the film to go through the printer. You're not able to see them from your view, but over here on this side, there is an arrow facing forward and an arrow facing backwards. That is going to help us get the film through. So I'm going to roll this film down and make sure that it goes under the roller area. Let me show you that. We'll pull the film back up and then put it right back down there. Now I should be able to press that forward arrow on the side and it should feed through. Let's see what happens. There we go. I just didn't have it down in there far enough. Now I see something coming out in front of it. What is that? A little piece of paper. It's kind of a little sticky piece of paper. Now I don't want to waste all that film, so now I can use the back arrow and I can pull it back in. All right, that should be fine. Now it's time to go ahead and get the software set up. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and connect it with this cable. Here's the end that goes into your computer. And then the other end of this cable looks like this, and it's probably going to plug into the back of the printer. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the computer side, and then the other end plugs in here in the back. Now, because I'm going to have another USB drive plugged into my computer while I have this printer plugged in, I do need to get an adapter that has more than one port. Here's the cute little USB hub that I'm going to use. This plugs into my computer, and then I have 4 more places where I can plug in devices. So I'll plug that into my computer, then I'll plug the printer into one of those spare places. Now's where it's going to get a little bit dicey for me because I already have ProRip software on my computer. ProRip software is a RIP software, which means basically that it helps your printer understand how to place the white ink. So most printers don't print white ink. You have to have a special software to manage the white ink, and that's what the RIP software does. Again, I already have the RIP software on my computer, so today I'll just be installing the driver. I will show you where you would install the RIP software from though. Now you get this little baggie with this printer. There's 2 little USB drives in there. The blue one is something that has to be plugged into your computer anytime you're using the printer. That's what runs the RIP software. Right now I'm going to use the white one to install the RIP software and to connect my printer to my computer. So for now, I'm only going to use this white one. And notice it even says that this is the manual and the software. So let's go ahead and take the little lid off. You can put it down at this end, and then I'll plug that into my USB hub. To find the files, I went down to File Explorer, then I went down and I found the D drive. That's the drive that the little thumb drive is on my computer. Once I clicked on that, I have these 4 options. Must-see courses for new customers, drivers and software, test charts and remote software, and maintenance and solution of common, and it's probably going to say problems. So I clicked on drivers and software. On this screen, you have your driver that you can install, and you have the RIP software. Since I already have the software, all I needed to install was the driver. So I selected the driver for the L1800 and I added it to my computer. After that, it asked me to select a language, and then I had to agree to their license. Now, this was a really quick process. It only took a short amount of time, and it shows me when the printer driver has been installed successfully. Now you access the RIP software here also. Since I don't need it, I can go ahead and close out. Now it's time to put the inks in, and you're going to have a yellow, black, blue, red, and white. The red is actually magenta and white. You might also receive some of this Protect. That is not ink. Go ahead and set that aside. Now I'm looking forward to this machine for several reasons, but one is it is so much easier to put ink into this machine than the one that I had. The one that I had, you had to actually use either little funnels or syringes. This one, you can just dump it in. So let's go ahead and start with the cyan or the blue. And they also have a piece of paper in here that just shows how many prints have been made with this printer. I guess then they clean it out afterwards because it did not come with ink. All right, so here's the blue. You can see right here, you're putting the blue ink in this one. I'm going to shake it up. And then let me move my printer over just a little bit. I have this plastic clear thing under my printer. That way, if anything spills, it's not going to ruin the wood. Now, it's not very far under it, so let me put this under there too. All right, so I shook it up. And now I have this little silver thing to deal with. Now, I don't know if this is going to take all of the ink or just part of the ink. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and push that silver thing in a little bit further. And here we go. Now, maybe it would have taken all the ink. I do have a little bit left in here, and I kind of like that. That way, if my machine tells me I'm getting low, I have a little bit more to put in, and then I can order some. The main thing with this is just make sure you're putting the right color of ink in the right tank. So I have magenta. It also shows the little red piece of paper, plastic, whatever that is. And shake it up. I'll go ahead and I'll put the rest of all these in here. When I get to the white, we're going to talk about that one. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about regarding the white ink. First of all, this gets stirred up by this mechanism back here. Second of all, there's actually two lines going out of this. So when we pull ink later, you're going to see that white comes through two lines, not just one. In a DTF printer, the white ink is the one that can cause your issues. And maybe you can hear it's actually trying to stir right now. Now, having this automatic stirring system is wonderful because that helps with the white ink. It helps with the problems that you can encounter with the white ink. You still need to print on this thing pretty often so that the print head doesn't get clogged with the white, but having a system like this is definitely a big benefit. When DTF was really starting to get popular and a lot of people were converting printers, they didn't have this automatic stirring system unless they added one. This printer comes just ready to go. All right, that is it for the ink. So much easier than that other printer. Now, I love my other printer. It was my starter DTF printer, but this is a huge upgrade. Now, there's one more thing I need to do. There's this little tray, and I'm going to slide it down into my printer. I only saw one video that talked about it. Let me show you with my phone where that is. And then I'm going to put this little pad on top of it. And it says that collects extra ink that drips from your print head. Now it's time to go ahead and pull the ink through the tubes. And to do that, you have some syringes. And then we have these little tips that go on the end. So I'm just going to put that right here. So here's the tubing, and then you have these little dampers back here. So I'm going to pull those out one at a time and suck ink through those. So those just pop up. And here is where we're going to put the little tip in. And I think you should hold it straight up. I've seen people do them at an angle like that, but you want the air to go up. So this is how I'm going to do it. Also, there is an extra bottle that you get with your printer. And that's right here. So I'm going to hold on to the little damper. And this isn't going to be easy for you to see. I apologize for that. I'll do the best I can. All right, so with this all the way in, we're going to push down into it. You can see my little tip down there. Now this is a plastic window. You don't want to be too rough with it. So now I'm going to suck this up, and I can see the ink coming. It is yellow. It came through the tubes. Now it's coming up through this. And I'm just going to pull a little bit out. You don't need to pull a whole bunch out. Now I'm just going to pull this out, set it down in my little bottle. And then we're just going to click this right back into place. Now they recommend that you change your tips every time. I'm not going to be squirting any of this into the print heads or the dampers. So I'm going to try to get away with doing it like this. This is how I've seen a lot of people do it. We'll go ahead and pull this next one out. We're just going to do this same thing over and over till I get through all 6 of these dampers. There's only 5 colors, but there's 2 dampers for the white. Hopefully you'll be able to see the ink come up through that. Here we go. This one's black. And that looks good. Now to put these back in place, you flip it over so that opening is in the down position, and then they just literally set back down into place. On my old printer, there was this little latch that you had to work with, and it was more difficult than this. I'm enjoying this so far. Now we need to suck some out of the waste tube in the back of the machine. So here's the waste tank in the back. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. If I drop my phone, you'll know there's a reason why. All right, I'm going to have to use 2 hands. All right, there we go. That's the basic process. After pulling the ink through, then I'm going to press this ink drop button right here, and that should get ink flowing through the print head. I'm going to hold it down. I think you have to hold it down for 3 long seconds, or for a long press of 3 seconds. I heard it do something, so I think we're good. Now that we have the printer set up and I showed you everything you needed to do that, let me show you what is still in this box. Because when I opened this box, At first, I was a little confused, a little overwhelmed, and I want you to know what's in here in case you see these things too. So the first thing that I have is a couple of more syringes and tips. I have some cleaning sponges. That's for your weekly maintenance or as needed. Now in the little plastic bag that had the little USB drives, there are a couple of what look to be little antennas. Maybe it's so I can connect it wirelessly. I'm honestly not sure what these are. If you know, let me know. But there's 2 of those and a little bitty Phillips head screwdriver. I have 4 extra dampers, so if any of the dampers go bad, they get a leak, I have extras that I can put in. I have some little cloths. Probably what they're for is if you go on vacation and you need to put this in vacation mode, you have this nozzle protection fluid, and I believe that you would put some of that on one of these and then you have it up under your print head. Again, if you've had experience with this, let me know for sure what you've used these for. There's a little bag of spare parts. There is some little round metal thing. And then right down here, there's just a little bitty spring. Again, these are just marked as spare parts in case something goes wrong. And then the thing that really confused me when I opened the box is there's extra tubing and there's another thing of extra tubing, and it actually has the part that you would hook the dampers into. So I think it's great that they send these extra things in case something does go wrong and you need to change these out. Now that I have everything out of the box, I have it in this little tote. I'll label it so that I'll always know what printer these things go with. Now this video is getting pretty long, and so if you're interested in seeing a print from this printer, that's going to be my next video. When I actually drop the video you're watching now, I will put a link to my second video in the video description, and then at the end of this video, about now, there might be something that pops up here or here or here, I don't really know, but if you click on that, you can also go to my next video as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day, and until my next video, bye-bye.